What's the word, Josh? Word to Psycho. I'm here again at the Jarrot Mansion. I'm finna go in and do this tour. I'm gonna set my camera up and inside. I start to sprinkle a little bit. I don't want to get wet. We finna go check it out. Let's go see. Real quick. I didn't think this was gonna be my niche, but a lot of people are taking a liking to it. I want to let y'all know up front, I don't do paranormal stuff. I don't do no ghost whispering. I don't go watching looking for no spirits. I don't do none of that. Stuff intrigue me. We want to look at the history behind it. That's all this is. We ain't gonna do too much. I'm still this. Okay, so just let y'all know. Let's go see what's up though. All right, I got the key. Let's go in.
Corner bedrooms over here are where his children would have slept. So if you want to come in here, I'll show you the difference between the two rooms. Where as often as we can, we're trying to restore the house to the way it looked at the time. So these are original floorboards versus the restored floorboards here. This is a restored hearth and mantle. But if you step into this room, you have the original hearth, the original bricks, and the original hearth stones. So when we talked the other day, I mentioned there was a child's shoe found and a bottle. Yep. They were found under these hearthstones here. So the idea behind that was it's kind of a blessing to the house for good fortune and good children, to have healthy children. You would have put a totem kind of like a 4-leaf clover or a horseshoe or something like that we think of today.
Okay.
So one of the things I like about this is these are the original pieces to the house.
Oh, wow.
You can imagine the stories that they would tell. This is original. These are the original hearthstones. His children would have sat here, and every room in the house has a fireplace. His children might have sat here and read.
Yeah.
This was their warmth, and so on.
Okay.
Sorry, your face. I apologize. I'm going to sneak right past you, but no, you're good. You're good. This is one of the sons up in this photograph up here. So the reason that the house has no front porch on it now is because it wasn't there when the house was originally constructed. You can see they put a real elaborate front porch on the front of the building in later years, but our original image of the house right here, there are no porches on it at all. So we're trying to bring it back to that look.
Gotcha. And this one was 1841?
1841. That's a sketch, basically, of a man traveling into the St. Louis area, and so he's documenting architecture and communities around St. Louis. So that's a sketch of Cahokia, not just of this house, but a sketch.
It's crazy.
It became an elementary school here for the church across the street, the Holy Family Church. Mm-hmm. And so it sat as a school for about 50 years. So another one of the ghost stories I like to mention is this photograph right here. These desks, you're going to see kind of the legacy of those desks when we go upstairs. Okay. So those desks, you'll notice how they're lined up in this row. When we go upstairs, I'll show you why we have that feature there. This is Madame Jarrot, his wife.
That's his wife, yeah.
Yep. He dies 10 years after the house is finished. She lives obviously much, much longer until 1875, outlives him by almost 50, 60 years.
Did he die from natural causes?
He died, we think, from pneumonia. So he owned a lot of mills in the area, and the story was he was working on one of his mill ponds, fell in the middle of the winter, got sick, and died of pneumonia.
Sheesh.
So now you're here, I'm sure, to see those. Those are the two horse skulls. There were 4 found in the house. Those are 2 of them. And we left them right where we found them.
Crazy.
So when we talked the other day, as I mentioned, there was no flesh on the skulls. There was no evidence that they were put in there to create a stink, so to speak. But those and the other 2 horse skulls, the one found over behind you and another one upstairs, are the only things found inside the walls. There were no other animal carcasses or bones or anything else.
So they didn't find animal carcasses?
They did not find animal carcasses inside the house.
I saw another video. I think you were telling me that they said that this is the one to the basement.
Second. So we left them, but imagine one of the things I think is pretty crazy is when they were doing the restoration of the house, imagine cutting that plaster away and then there's a horse skull.
Yeah, that probably freaked you out for sure. Yeah, right. Definitely.
So when you and I were talking, one of the stories that you probably said you saw online was that this was the quarantine room.
Right.
So because they were enslavers, did they put people in this room behind the staircase to kind of seal them off when they were sick? No, that's not the case. So I can't let you downstairs because the floor is a little uneven. I'm not finding anything down there. There's nothing weird about it.
No bodies.
You guys, yeah, but if you look here, it's just the staircase to the basement.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it's not a quarantine room. It's not where they put the sick. It's literally the staircase down to the basement. So as I mentioned earlier to you, enslaved people would have prepared food in the kitchens downstairs. That's where the kitchens were, and the food would have been passed up here to the family. There is no running water in this house. There is obviously a little bit of electricity, but this house has never had running water at the time. And so when this was a school, imagine they would have had a well house, which is what you see out behind you, as well as an outhouse.
Gotcha.
Was it 30 some odd grandchildren at the time of her death? No, 52 great grandchildren at the time of her death. So Jarrot, 95 years eventually when she died, but 52 great grandchildren. There are Jarrot descendants. Their names may not have lasted all that time because you've got about 200 years since he died. So the names may haven't all carried on, but we are in contact with a number of descendants that are still from the family. I think a lot of people probably would have lost their.
And what? This was just like a regular closet?
Wall. So there are no closets in the house. So this is where your clothing would have been kept.
This is everybody's clothing?
Well, probably would have had more than one. The family itself would have had quite a bit of furniture. But to your point, this is the only original piece of furniture of the house. That is the original armoire. Unfortunately, Artez, I can't open it for you. No, it's not where we're hiding anything weird or anything. So it's just the hinges on it. It's 200-plus-year-old piece of furniture. So
yeah. All right, y'all hear that? No bodies in this thing. There's nothing in there. So I want y'all to know that. Good? You saw on.
I pushed that in before you guys got.
Oh man, that's crazy.
And then, you guys ready to go upstairs?
Yeah.
So one of the things that's a feature about the house is we left a piece of the plaster off. This is a brick home.
Oh
and
wow.
If you look at the width of the doors, this is 2 courses of brick. So a course of brick and a course of brick here. So it's a massive house. This house has been here through the New Madrid earthquake. So there was a massive earthquake in this area just south of St. Louis. So the house withstood that. It's withstood the flooding. So there's
what was the name of that earthquake again?
New Madrid earthquake. There was a massive earthquake, 1811, 1812.
Oh wow.
And made the Mississippi River flow backwards. So it was that big of a deal. These are a floating staircase, so again, this is one of the features that he wanted in the house, to have this floating staircase. When you come through, you'll look up and see the arch that's right here as well. He wanted these little different features to the house when he wanted it built, because he wanted it to look like nothing else in the region. So we're going to go up here to the left. All right, so if you remember that photograph that I showed you downstairs of the classroom, this is it. So this was one of the classrooms. This was an elementary school for the Catholic Church. So if you guys stand here and look this direction, depending on your shadows of your cameras, I'll show you, or you can walk it however you want to do it. Right here is where the desk sat.
Yeah.
And then if you look here, you'll see where the row is kind of been grooved down a little bit. Here's where the kids would walk up and down this row.
Wow.
So if you can see it, this is another one of these ghost stories that I mentioned. Here's the legacy of the fact that this was a school. So if you walk up these rows, I'm standing at a high point right here. So this was the ballroom, guys. The biggest room of the house was for parties.
Did they have a lot?
They had a lot of fetes or parties, so if he wanted to entertain, he would invite people in the community. So I don't know if you can pick up those ridges where you're at with your camera there, but you probably all see, and the feature that everybody knows about this room are the little knots on the floors.
Yeah.
That wood has just been worn down. 200 years of people walking on the floors have worn it down.
It's crazy.
I've never seen it do it before.
Well, 200 years of people walking on it. You got 50 years of school kids in here. So were you able to pick up that groove? I think it's just really cool to imagine where the desks was at. Where you're at, Artez, is another row where you're the desk. Your foot's in a row over here, and you're standing right at a high row.
Wow. Do you know, was this like elementary school? Or was it all ages?
K through 5.
K through 5.
So about 2 years ago, actually, I had a former student that attended school here. She was here for 3rd grade.
What?
She remembers, yeah. So she was.
That's crazy.
She was here in the 1950s.
That is
School here,
crazy.
so she remembers. She's the one that told me the story about the well. So whenever she gets water on the tap today from her sink, she pours it out because she remembers having to get a well and then having to go outside to the outhouse in the 1950s to use the restroom. Obviously, how cold it was.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so even then they didn't have plumbing. So if you remember downstairs, I showed you that we found those tiger stripes on the wood. So the same thing here. If you turn around and look at this fireplace mantle, From the distance or from where you're standing, it looks like it could be marble. You can see where it had been painted over the years.
Yeah.
This is wood. So what he did is he painted and had somebody come in and paint the design to look like marbling.
That's crazy.
So,
He spent some money.
well, you know, again, if he couldn't acquire that marble, he wanted it to look like it.
That's crazy.
So I like the sconces as well. If you look up here, these wall sconces, that's how they reflect the light. An area without artificial lighting, you would use those as a means of creating.
So that's what people see, the light that the candle light they see.
That might see reflection off outside, yeah. I still think when you and I were talking the other day, and you can see this, remember I said there's a film?
Yeah.
If you stand out there at night and this is kind of fluttering, I still think that's what they're seeing. They may not be seeing those candle lights because that's too far back, but the reflection off of that film, off of the amber of the street lights out there, and if it's blowing, and there's air conditioning now in the house, if it's blowing, it's going to create kind of a...
Yeah. I had posted a video on my TikTok, and one of the guys, I don't know who he was, but he was just like, nah, nothing wrong with that place. It's not haunted. I used to run back there all the time when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, but one time I did see a woman in the window.
I've worked here 10 plus years, and I've never seen anything. If Julia wanted to come, and have an issue with what I just don't, I tell people not to laugh at a picture downstairs because you don't want to get any bad juju.
Hey, yeah.
I was skeptical to take it. Like,
look, man, when you see Ghostbusters, if you're willing to take that picture and it looks weird when I know they've seen Ghostbusters, the picture looks weird when you're developing.
I see, if I go through that, I'm going to have to call.
See, I did.
Yeah, all right.
You lost
Call me back and we'll figure
Madison. So you lost her. Uh-oh. Madison. Hey, man, hey, all right, man.
They thought you got one on the ghost.
All right.
So this is the drawing room. So if you were an honored enough guest with Nicholas's party, he would withdraw into the drawing room. So this is kind of like his man cave today.
Okay.
This is where his den, maybe we might call it his den, his smoking room, maybe to do liqueur.
Yeah.
The room is painted entirely in blue. It's Prussian blue, which is a manufactured pigment. And again, one of our ghost stories, if you look up above, you can see this is the history of the room from its original plaster to the eras of wallpaper to the blue that's on the far end here. That's why we chose to do that. That pigment alone was incredibly expensive. So the fact that he painted an entire room in a costly pigment just is, again, him showing off. Like some people might have a white. What's that?
It's almost like marble.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's cool to imagine that those wallpapers are still available. Cortez, this is what I wanted to show you. This is about that case that I mentioned. So the French, when they first moved to the Illinois country, they're bringing enslaved people into the region. There was a practice called the Code Noir, the black codes that the French basically managed their enslaved people on. When Illinois became a part of the United States, they maintained their respect for their property rights. The French that lived in this area could continue to own slaves. But because of the Northwest Ordinance, slavery was to be prohibited north of the Ohio River. So how is it that slaves still existed in Illinois? It's one of those things that we talked about. But a case here of Jarrot v. Jarrot. So this case was heard. One of Julia's indentured men, in this case Pete, sues in 1843 for back wages and his freedom. This is a freedom case heard much like Dred Scott. The case is heard in Belleville and eventually the Illinois Supreme Court. And in 1845, they ruled that any kind of indentured servitude in this regard or any enslaved people is no longer practiced in Illinois.
So did he won the case? Did he receive those back pay that he was looking for?
That's the question, and that's a good question, Artez. We don't know. We kind of lose. Well, remember I said earlier that we don't have a written record, a diary, or letters. These are the kind of documents that we do have about the family. I can show you his land records. We talked downstairs about the fact that he owned a bunch of property. I can show you the court cases. But what happened to Pete?
Who knows?
Was he? Did he stay with the family? There's a lot of legend about whether or not Julia helped him or helped pay for the case. Well, why is it Jarrot v. Jarrot? He's suing Julia for his freedom.
Right.
Why would she oppose that and not just give him his freedom? So I don't know that I agree that Julia supported him.
Right.
But was he freed immediately? Did the laws change that every indentured servant, and if we talked about this, Artez, but this idea that people were indentured for life, I showed you that photograph. I don't know that everybody suddenly just earned their freedom that day. It took time, but the fact that the rules are changing, is important. Oh, I'm sorry.
I had another question.
Yeah.
What was it? Dang, I just forgot.
Something about the case.
It was something regarding the case. Darn, I forgot. It'll come back to me.
So it's significant is why we think the house is important. The fact that
Yeah.
that law was born here, that change in policy, 16 years.
Oh, I got it.
Go ahead.
The statute that said that the French that were here can maintain their property, is that only the ones that were here prior? That they like have like
It would have been their children as well. Their children, because property extended beyond just simply ownership at the time. You owned all of their offspring, unless there were arrangements made. So I think I showed you just briefly, and if you want, I can help you with getting that case because I don't have the exact details. But I showed you some of those registries, and one of them was a 5-year-old boy. And that was a registry in 1806. That would have been long after these laws would have already been created.
Yeah.
But here's an individual who's being registered as a 5-year-old, had no idea probably what he was. The enslaved people, that they took them when they were sick and threw them in a room, and if they lived, they got out of there. If they didn't, they died. That's a false. There's no way. There's not a room downstairs. I showed you the basement. That's, I think, the biggest myth about the house. I know where it comes from because we've got these stories, places in New Orleans. The Lalaurie family, if you look up the Lalaurie family.
My family's from New Orleans.
Are they?
Yeah.
So have you heard of the Madame Lalaurie? Yeah. So if you
I love it.
It's nasty.
What about like the
where they put people in the walls and they hear scratching.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
What about like the what is it, like the voodoo and stuff?
So you've got people who potentially have West African descent. So I don't know that the enslaved people here, first generation, are coming from that.
Yeah.
Most of the enslaved people here in the French country would have probably been here for a generation or so, perhaps. I don't know how viable the slave trade was coming into this region. So is there a chance of that? Sure. Were they coming perhaps from the Caribbean? There might have been some of that as well. I've not heard any stories other than what you're talking about. You mentioned about the animal effigies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There were no other animals found inside the house, just those skulls. And I get it, it leads to that.
Yeah.
So the craziest story I've heard about the house is that the devil signed some kind of contract with the family. I don't know what that would have been. It was maybe at some point with one of the Jarrot family's descendants. Obviously didn't work so well for Nicholas because he dies 10 years after the house was finished.
Right.
But I've not seen any evidence of kind of that kind of.
Yeah. Hey y'all, well that's a wrap for us today here at the Jarrot Mansion. We had a great time. It was very informative. Not haunted as we really thought, but a lot of good information. There are those Catholic bells we talked about. But hey, let me know where I should go next. I think we should probably go to the tunnels in downtown St. Louis, but who knows? Drop it in the comments where you want me to go. I'm Martez Tycoon and we out.